Keep your head up high, you said to me. Everything will work out, wait and see. We are stronger than we used to be. That's what you promised. Keep your head up high, you whispered soft. Even when the world feels cold and lost, through the darkness we will rise above. That's how you love me. When I feel the sun returning, I feel the light beneath my chest. Oh, I feel my soul is burning. Oh, you help me find what I've been searching for. Oh, you help me find what I've been searching for. Said I won't give up, not anymore. I'm a fighter knocking down each door. Gonna stand my ground and face the storm. This is my moment. And I feel the sun returning. I feel the light beneath my chest. Oh, I feel my soul is burning. 'Cause you help me find what I've been searching for. Oh, you help me find what I've been searching for. If this is all we have, this journey that we're on, then I will take your hand and we'll keep moving strong. If this is all we have, you'll help me carry on. I want to share it all with you, with you, with you. Keep your head up high, you said to me. Everything will work out, wait and see. Through the shadows we will find our way. We are gold and we are here to stay. Oh,
very good afternoon to you. I hope you're doing well. I hope you find the journey that you are on, that the right doors are opening, and that you are finding the courage to walk through those doors. Today's live stream is going to be all about how complicated things have gotten around health. Well, now, maybe we'll try that again so that you can hear me. In some ways, I love this mic because it has a much more earthy view or earthy tone to it. So let's try again. Good afternoon. Welcome to Rodney Full Circle. I pray that you have been getting, well, it's just not going to work the way I want it to. I pray that you have been getting, still not going to get what I want. Welcome to Rodney Full Circle. I thank you for coming in today. I hope you are having an amazing week, that you will have a good week. I pray that you are getting success that is meaningful to you. Don't quit. Don't give up. Don't give up on your journey. Don't give up on what you're trying to accomplish. It has been interesting to learn how complicated health has become in comparison to how health is really meant to be and how it's meant to be accomplished. And I say meant. Some of us are religious, and so we believe in a higher power that's created this world. And then there's those that believe in atheism. But even if you take evolution, you were designed to thrive, to do well, to survive, to do more than survive. You were designed that way. And yet, in this modern age, health has become one of the most complicated things that you can possibly imagine. And those of us living in today's age have a hard time visualizing what life was like for an average healthy person in antiquity. We assume that heart disease was rampant in the human population, but that it just was not diagnosed and just people just didn't know. We assume that cancer, heart disease, liver disease, kidney disease, all these diseases were rampant in the human population, and that it is only now that we've gained the diagnostic ability and the medical procedures to be able to shut that down, or to be able to deal with that. I'm beginning to understand how inaccurate that vision is. That view of ourselves, of us, of what we are as humans seems to be terribly skewed. And so today we're going to talk about that. But before we get started, I got to pray. It gets me focused, it gets me zeroed in. And so let's do that right now. Dear Heavenly Father, I thank you so much for today. I thank you for the technology that allows us to get together here on the internet and be able to speak to people that we would never meet otherwise, and that the average man can have a voice in the arena of public discourse. And so I thank you for this. I thank you for the people who will listen to this, who will hear this, and may I actually deliver value. Help me do a good job and to honor those who would watch and spend their precious time listening to what I have to say. I thank you, Father God, for all you've done for us. I thank you for Jesus Christ on the cross. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. I always have a script. Helps me stay on course. So the first thing I wrote down is this. I don't think God ever meant for this to be complicated, for health to be complicated. Somewhere along the line, we stopped trusting what He made and started trusting what man invented. We turned food into formulas, health into confusion, and peace into pressure. And yet, the truth has been right there from the beginning. God created food that's simple, real, and enough. Today, I want to talk about how we lost this simplicity and how taking ownership of what's on our plate can help us find something far greater than just simply weight loss. It can help us find peace. I am emphasizing peace. I'm emphasizing this because, yes, weight loss is valuable. It matters. Or maybe, if I could say it, getting no more IBS, or being able to reduce the symptoms of Crohn's disease, or maybe you have skin conditions. Maybe we struggle with brain fog. Any number of things, and it matters. It matters that we are able to deal with those things and gain some kind of, I want to say cure, but gain our health back to some degree, or be able to have the type of health that we're really supposed to have, that we see others having. But the bigger deal, I think, is peace. Peace in our mind, peace in our bodies, and then peace in our spirit. No matter how hard I try, I cannot get this camera to stop wiggling. I do not know how to get it to stop. Yeah, you see every little movement, and yet what I've got does not in any way, shape, or form touch the camera, yet it still wiggles when I move. So, problems to be solved in the future. So, to continue with my script, what were the first voices I remember hearing about how to eat healthy, and how did those messages start to pile up and clash with each other? And admittedly, the first voice that spoke into my life about health was actually my mother, who insisted on cooking liver and told me, eat this, it's good for you. And it had such a terrible flavor. Such a terrible flavor. Classically, children hate Brussels sprouts, broccoli or Brussels sprouts, right? It's one of the two. Classically, we hate that kind of stuff. And no, I liked Brussels sprouts and I liked broccoli, but liver. However, the voices did not stop there. School, and television, children's television, though I didn't get to watch much of that, so it was mainly school that educated me about here's what's healthy, and we were told, eat your vegetables. Sugar was never promoted, because I think by the time the 80s come around, people understood that sugar didn't lead to cholesterol in your body, but it wasn't exactly the healthiest thing. But the biggest voice that showed up in my life about health was the Seventh-day Adventist Church. the Seventh-day Adventist Church has a tremendous passion, a tremendous drive for the health of our nation, the health of the world, because they believe that if they can teach you how to be healthy, then maybe you would be open to their salvation in Christ's message. And moreover, they want to see their members thrive. They do, like modern day Seventh-day Adventist Church does come from a very, very good place, at least when it comes to the membership, and I would imagine most of the leadership. But the thing is that their messages did clash with modern day, just average people's eating. My mother was not impressed with my desire to no longer eat certain foods, pork and hot dogs and things like that. Hold on a moment. I'll be right back.
Keep your head up high, you said to me. Everything will work.
My apologies. I had to sneeze and I didn't want you to have to watch it. Yeah. But my mother, she had a very, very specific view of what is healthy and what we should be eating. And I balked at that, and I wanted to go with what the Adventist Church said. And my mother wanted what she wanted for me to eat, especially because she didn't have a big giant budget. And these voices clashed with each other, though I went with the church. Mama said what? Mama said whatever she said, and I was just like, I'm going with the church. But as I got older, and I moved out of my mother's home, and I started having to live life, man, a lot of people have opinions about food. You got your average Joe, right? The blue-collar worker. And he gets the reputation of like not caring what people have to say when it comes to health. It's like, look, he's got to work all day, and if he wants a burger and fries, a beer, and chips at the end of his day, he gets to have that. And the weekend, you're not taking that away from me. And he's going to voice. And I heard those voices, and I thought, yeah, I get it. I get it where he's coming from. As I love burgers and fries and steak and, deep fried chicken and roast chicken, you name it. I love that stuff. But I always thought that what he was saying was just not true because he's an uneducated man. And then there were the voices that were the health experts, right? And you'd see them on television sometimes, the news. Maybe they would get referenced in a TV show, a TV episode, something like that. And man, they really spoke against what the blue-collar worker was saying. But they also were not in line with what the Adventist Church was saying back in the 90s now. 90s, early 2000s, but definitely the 90s. Because the Adventist Church was like, we need to become vegetarian. And if you can cut out things like eggs and cheese, man, that's even better. And the voices that were health experts in the 90s, they were like, no, you need meat. You do need meat. Just not the fat. Avoid seed oils. No. What am I saying? Avoid butter, avoid lard, avoid beef fat and stuff like that, but instead consume your margarine and your seed oils and things like that. Everybody would speak into my life, and I remember I would adopt it and adopt it and adopt it. And then in the 2000s, mid-2000s, like 2010, thereabouts, you start hearing things like, actually, eggs are not bad for you. But I thought eggs were bad for us. And then, well, there wasn't as much cholesterol in eggs as they at first thought. And then they were like, eating eggs is better for you than not eating. Or no, it's okay to eat eggs, and they actually have some health benefits. Which I got to admit, when that news came through, I was actually very excited because I do like eggs. But it was all about preventing heart disease. Not preventing cancer, not preventing diabetes, not preventing any of those things. It was just preventing heart disease. And they knew sugar wasn't good for us. But it was also conflicting as to what caused diabetes. And some would say, yes, diabetes is caused by sugar, while others said, no, it's not. The Adventist Church was pretty consistent in saying that diabetes was caused by sugar. But then there was a time when the Adventist Church started saying, no, diabetes is not caused by sugar, but in fact is caused by animal fat. Animal fat is what actually causes diabetes. I have to admit, as I got working harder and the hours got longer, I started to not care what people had to say anymore, because I had heard about, a nonstick is not good for you, and then it doesn't matter. Stainless steel is not good for you, and then it doesn't matter. Glass cookware is not good for you, and then, no, it's not true. And it was just all over the place. No one ever attacked cast iron, though. No one ever attacked cast iron. They left that alone. However, I did get tired of the constant, you can't have this, you can't have that. I knew, or I believed and understood, that eating vegetables and eating fruit was better for you than eating deep fried food and fast food. But there was a point where I started to I wasn't interested anymore. What's fascinating is that a lot of people argued, or no, not a lot of people, pardon me, each voice that spoke about their health message always claimed that it was simple, that health is simple. If you just become a vegetarian, health gets easier. It's just simple. If you become a vegan, health is simpler. If you just eat these vitamins and take these supplements, health is easier. It's just simple, they would say. And then you get into the roots and into the details of what their health message is, and there's nothing simple about it. Where, what's it? There's this Weight Watchers where you've got to count. You have to keep track of your calories. You got to keep track of what you're eating in detail, and you get allotted a certain amount of numbers or something like that that is represented by different types of food, and that's your food, and you got to track everything. And then if you do the calorie counting diet, where you've got to just cut the calories. So you're not doing Weight Watchers, you're just counting calories like crazy. You got to count calories, and you still got to keep track of everything that you're doing. And you end up having to cook from scratch and raw, or you've got to pay attention very closely to the different prepackaged foods that you're eating. I don't know if the word simple really should be what we describe a lot of modern diets as. I would say almost all of them. They're not simple. There's a lot to it. I think it's complicated. Yeah. When you tried to follow all these rules, cooking from scratch, buying every ingredient, what did a typical day in the kitchen look like? Okay. When I was doing the calorie counting, I first had to do, my day in the kitchen began at the grocery store, looking at all the ingredients and being very careful what I bought. Then I had to weigh out, or at least know how much my food was that I was cooking. So that took time. I had to pay attention to, I needed this many grams of this many grams of that. And that was what I had to pay attention to. A lot of chopping and cutting, frying, boiling. It was, my time in the kitchen increased significantly because I had to cook from scratch. I had to be very careful with what I with what I was eating. And yes, you can have boxed foods, but the food doesn't taste that good, and you can't dress it up very well. But if you cook from scratch, you're spending a whole lot more time in the measurement and in the measurements and having to prepare all the different ingredients. So you end up eating the same foods over and over again to get some kind of consistency, which meant my food got very, very routine. I was eating the same thing. You know what's funny is now I actually do the same thing. I'm actually eating fairly similar, but it's incredibly easier. But back then, man alive, just there was so many things I had to pay attention to, and it was a lot of work. Yeah, I'm spending each meal was grabbing a good 2 hours every time, especially whatever main meal I was going to have, which led to me jumping into shortcuts. Yeah, I jumped into shortcuts, and admittedly, that calorie counting and calorie deficit diet, it didn't last. It was a lot of work. Everyone said it was simple, but what was the moment I realized it wasn't simple at all? It took time. I didn't see that it was simple was not being lived out. It was like, yeah, I just got to learn how this works. I got to learn it. But eventually, it would catch up. And like, I don't feel like doing this thing. And I remember adding, like, I had also the meal replacement shakes. It's just simple again. Do the meal replacement, and then a balanced meal at the end of the day. Or one of your meals is going to be balanced. And I did that. I did it, and it did work. I lost weight. I did. However, it was very expensive, and it still took a ton of work. What do I mean? The last meal of the day or the middle meal of the day required still a ton of time because I've got to be careful with what I'm cooking. I've got to measure everything. I got to pay attention to the calories. I got to pay attention to the micronutrients. I got to pay attention to how much fat I'm getting and making sure I'm not getting too much fat. And even just explaining it, it's like, wait a second, this is not simple. It's a tremendous amount of work. And I still am spending tons of time in the kitchen. And I got to admit, the meal replacements, at first, I mean, they taste all right. They go for sweet flavors. But after a while, it's just not worth it. Or after a while, what am I saying? I got confused. The meal replacements are sweet, but after a while, you get sick of the sweet. You get sick of drinking 2 meals a day. And you start to crave those regular meals. And I found myself enjoying cheat meals, or I wouldn't call that a cheat meal. I call it a reward meal. I would enjoy a reward meal every week. And I preferred that reward meal significantly over all the other type of eating that I was doing. Even though, yes, you're getting the bodily results, you're losing weight, your meals are miserable. And that's eventually what it became about. It wasn't simple. It was not simple. How did all that conflicting information make me feel about myself as a man, as someone trying to do the right thing? What it felt like is that I'm a failure. I felt like, I am not succeeding in my life. I'm not succeeding at what I'm trying to do. And so I ended up, you know what? Because it was so hard and I was dealing with the temptation and the finances, I eventually did quit the that calorie counting meal replacement diet because it was too damn hard. And then I felt like I was giving up on my health. And it's just something I just pushed my health and what I was dealing with just to the back of my mind. Compartmentalize and just ignore it. I'm not dealing with this anymore. And that's how I felt. I'm not going to deal with this anymore. I'm not going to do it anymore. I stopped all the vitamins. I stopped all the meal replacement, and I stopped all the calorie counting. And I went back to just eating quote unquote normal. So what was easy? I didn't like spending tons of time in the kitchen, so it was like whatever was quick. I mean, I still fried food and stuff like that, but mainly when I did like just say proper cooking, it was the weekend. That's when I would do it. But then I'm still doing macaroni and cheese and doing a lot of, baked potatoes, no rice, pasta, and quick foods. Just really, really quick foods. Nothing that's going to take a ton of effort unless I was cooking for somebody or cooking with a friend. My brother-in-law and myself love to cook together. We actually don't do it much anymore. Yeah, we never did. We didn't stick with it. But yeah, we used to cook together. And so, yeah, I would go all out then. But otherwise, I'm going with easy. And a lot of time, I just ate out. Burger King was my favorite joint. I loved Burger King. And it was easier. McDonald's, Subway, sushi, whatever was easy. You can imagine that my food bill did not get better. I was spending a lot of money when I was doing the calorie counting, meal replacement, pay attention to all the calories, get all the vegetables. I was spending a lot of money on that diet. And also tons of money ended up getting spent when I went with the eating out diet. But the thing is that it was easier. It tasted good and it was easier. Healthy eating wasn't simple, it wasn't easier, and it was just as expensive. Looking back, what kind of peace was I really craving? Peace in my schedule, peace in my body, or peace in my spirit? And this is a hard question to answer because I wasn't conscious of what I was trying to accomplish so much as I was just falling to what was easiest. And so I think that what I was chasing after and what I wanted was peace in my spirit. Because everything was like just out of control, I was hunting for anything that would give me a moment of peace, a moment of reward, a moment of pleasure, a moment of just something nice, I wanted everything to just be okay without working so hard to accomplish so little. I couldn't change my schedule and I couldn't change a lot of my life. And so I would feel good eating the good tasting food, and that would give me a moment of pleasure, which would give me just something nice for a minute. You know what I'm saying? But looking back, I think I really was wanting peace in my heart, peace in my spirit. And I was chasing after different answers of the right thing to do to gain that peace. The cost of doing everything right. Man, a lot of us, I think there's two different camps. There's the camp within the world that they are doing everything they possibly can to do what's right. And they sacrifice tremendously to be able to do that. They are pushing for, I got to do it right. I got to do it right. Then there is the camp that's just given up. And they just don't care. Somebody's always got something to say. about doing what's right, and they've quit. I was in the first camp where I'm always trying to do what's right, and I want to do everything right. Failed, yet still strived. When I was doing everything right, what did I expect to feel? And what did I actually feel instead? And what I expected to feel was peace. I'm doing everything right. That means I'm not going to get in trouble. People are not going to get mad at me. I'm not going to have health problems. I'm going to have the money that I need, and I'm not going to have to worry about this, that, and the other thing. And what ended up happening is I did get in trouble. I did not have health. I did not have good finances because I was trying to do everything right. But the advice is endlessly conflicting. The advice is endlessly conflicting. And food, health, finances, man, everybody's got an opinion. I'm sharing my opinion now. Even though I was so desperate to do what was right and to make things right, I only felt fear. Fear, discontent, worry, and stress, constantly trying to do what was right. I was getting more and more overweight. I didn't understand the world around me. I didn't understand the social situations that I was getting into. And sure, it seemed that people were nice to me, but there wasn't a place of respect, which means I also didn't respect myself either, right? Man, talking on these topics, you end up talking about yourself, and it's like, oh man, I don't share these things because I want you to like, oh, feel sorry for me or something like that. Just that this is the journey that I was on, and so many things are complicated that don't need to be. But I wanted to do what was right so badly that I took the advice of anybody that was slightly higher than me in life. It didn't matter. And I would trust, and I got myself into some real problems. But in that desire and desperation to do what was right, I would fall to the moments of pleasure that took at least a little bit of moment. It took for a small moment that pressure away. So like getting to have Burger King and just getting to enjoy a nice Whopper with cheese, poutine, McDonald's, Subway, just getting to enjoy that. It was an easy answer instead of all the hard answers that everything else in life seemed to offer. And that's actually what led me to also binging on movies. I loved movies because they were an escape. Movies today are not an escape. Movies today are a tremendous letdown. But I got into watching copious amounts of movies, which eventually led to also video games. But video games never got to the level of movies. You could escape into a world, and there would be maybe something, here's a problem, and the hero is going to come, and he's going to solve that problem. And you know what? You, Rodney, or you watching, you could do it too. Because it was either like Superman, which gave you that sense of maybe someone will come in and help me, or it would be like the average Joe, like Die Hard. Here's this guy, he's got no special abilities, he's just a cop, he's just trying to do the best he can. He's screwing up in life. They show that with his relationship with his wife. He's not doing well. But he did rise to the occasion, right? And I loved those stories, and I wasn't conscious of it. I was not conscious of it. I just loved it. And so I would watch those movies, and that was a way of escape. And the burger and fries, that's a way of escape. I can feel okay, at least for now. I can feel good, at least for now. You know what I'm saying? Like, because doing everything right wasn't delivering what I needed it to, and I didn't give up on it. I took what I could get in the moments as long as it didn't violate doing what's right. Does that make sense? I wanted to do what was right, but I kept on drifting back. I kept on doing these things that were not necessarily right. They weren't wrong either. They weren't healthy, and it wasn't building. Now I've written it down here about a meal, but I'm noticing I'm shifting over to just life. But hear me on this. When a meal didn't go perfectly, maybe fast food on a long day, what did that guilt sound like inside my head? Now, we got to shift to where I was actually trying to really do my health correctly. So, say, when I was doing the calorie counting and I was really pushing for losing weight, you know what? And even now in my current health practice, where I'm far more successful than I was doing the calorie counting and meal replacements, I still have the same narrative. This is not a cheat day. I'm not cheating. I'm rewarding. I'm rewarding myself. I get to have this because I've been doing good. I've done the right thing, and it's not going to hurt just to have one meal. You ever heard that one before? And then I would notice that my weight didn't reduce. And I would notice that I wasn't getting down to the weight that I wanted, that my weight would stall. And then I would feel frustrated. Why is it I can't have at least one meal? Everybody else gets to, but not me. And so the guilt really quickly turned into feeling like a victim. I've been learning that when I feel like a victim, when I let myself go into that mindset, I want to have that reward meal, that cheat meal again. And then I want it again. And then I want it again. Now, I have gotten better at shutting that off, at shutting that voice off, and like just go and get myself, if I really do want a reward, it's like, okay, I'm going to go get myself like a ribeye steak, or I'll get some shrimp, or maybe have some duck, or beautifully roasted smoked chicken. Something to reward myself for my accomplishment of losing the weight, but not jump into having a burger and fries. Because the burger and fries doesn't give me what I actually want, which is a healthy body, a healthy mind. And it retards and sabotages my goal. It's like, yes, this thing is nice, but it's only nice in the moment, and it takes away everything that you're wanting. You want this good thing, you desire this good thing, but you don't get to have the good thing. No, it's not fair. Or, I mean, it's not fair. You know what? We are not being fair to ourselves. We desire the thing that we want, the goal, the losing weight, the getting healthy, the getting our finances together, to getting our relationships together, to doing all those things. And when we sabotage ourselves with rewards that are, yes, feel good in the moment, but take from the future to give you this moment, it's not fair. Does that make sense? It's like a lot of times we think about fairness as in what others do to us. Someone does something to us, someone does something to me. It's not fair. They're treating me in a way that's not fair. Okay. And that's legitimate. I think that sometimes we take that too far. I do think we take it too far. But when we sabotage our goals, ourselves, we are being unfair to ourselves. And I think that that is far more important than whether or not others are being fair to us. So you know, I broke down. I had the burger and fries. I spent money I shouldn't have. I yelled at my spouse or my girlfriend, whatever it is, right? That moment of just letting it go. We are sabotaging ourselves and sabotaging the future that we have worked so hard for. When we make that mistake, one, don't sit there and punish yourself for 3 years, 3 weeks, whatever, going on about that. That's no way to do it. Don't do that. That doesn't help us. We need to instead own that we did it, right? Just own it. Like, yep, I did that thing. I shouldn't have done it. And then learn from it. Take it as an opportunity to learn. Failure is not wrong. It's the quitting from failure automatically. That's what's wrong. You know, and you've heard these things before. But it goes hand in hand with, you know, when it comes to getting healthier, finances, relationships, you name it, it goes hand in hand. If I quit my health journey because I kept on screwing up, then I'll get the results of what quitting will give me. And that's not fair, because it's not good. Yeah, I failed, man. I absolutely failed. But I'm getting back up. You didn't have one big breakdown. It crept up on you. What pressures were stacking underneath me that made me whisper, I can't keep this up? Yeah, when it comes to my life, I don't have any one giant moment where just poof, I you know, all at once something got figured out. It was always little by little, little by little, little by little. The every, you know, getting just bigger and bigger and bigger. Pants that fit me now don't fit me, and I've had these pants for years. Or looking back at pants I bought 5 years ago, forgot about them, and then try to wear them now, and they can't get them on. I used to wear these pants as an adult. Now they don't even fit at all. The spending, the bad habit. Now I'm, you know, it used to be once a week I would go out for something to eat. Now I'm doing this daily. Hot dog, man, this week 3 times. I did it twice in the same day. So not only am I killing my finances, I'm also killing my waistline. I'm killing my health with these habits. And one day you're looking in the mirror and I say like a full body mirror, and you're like, oh, and you don't like it. You know, your stomach is hanging out more than it's ever done before, and you've been just, you don't want to pay attention to it. And it creeps in the back of my mind, just in the back of my mind. I can't keep doing this. But the problem is I don't see a solution either. I can't keep failing this way, but I also don't know what to do to not keep failing this way. And I see other people being successful, but what they do, I don't feel like I can do. Does that make sense? Stay put. Do as I say. Before clarity came, how did that exhaustion spill over into my faith, into my passion for scripture, church, and prayer? I was feeling tired, so tired. I was working too hard. I was getting deeper and deeper into debt. And I was eating unhealthy, like really unhealthy. And what was happening? Well, the passion was actually just burning out. The passion kept on burning out. Or it kept on, forget about it. The passion was burning out more and more and more. And I was getting to a place where I didn't care. And I would go to work. And I was a teacher. And as I was teaching, I was starting to get frustrated with the students' inability. And I didn't want to put in the effort again to teach that student again. And I would, I love my video games, but this video game is going to require for me to learn. And I just don't want to learn anymore. I'm tired of learning because I haven't gotten anything out of it. So I'm going to go back to just what's easy. I'm going to play this other game that I've played before. And I don't want to eat healthy, and I don't want to go into the kitchen, and I don't want to cook anything fancy because it takes a huge amount of work, and I get little out of it. I'd rather just buy at the store, sushi, whatever. And I mean, there was this conflict because I want to do the right thing, and that's my nature. Like, my nature is to push to do the right thing, to get people's approval, right? I want God's approval. I want your approval. I want my family's approval, my friends' approval. I want those things. Yet at the same time, I'm getting tired of the work that it takes to get there and not get it. Hence, obesity. I was getting tired of the obesity. Absolutely tired of it. I was getting bigger and bigger in my waist, and it was getting harder to operate in the car. It was getting to the point where I could actually, my belly was starting to touch the steering wheel. And that really was bugging me. It's like, am I failing that much? Even here? And so this affected my spiritual, mental, my heart. Obviously, my body wasn't doing well, but especially in the spiritual side of things. I love discussion and theology, philosophy. I love learning about history and about people. I love all that stuff, and I was losing passion for that because I was failing in so many places, and food was just a representation of that. My health was just a representation of that. If I could talk to that earlier version of myself, the tired, guilty, overwhelmed man, what would I tell him about peace? And I'll tell him this. Peace, it lies in what you're afraid of, and it's not as complicated as you've come to understand it. Peace lies in what you're afraid of, and it's not as complicated as you feel it is. Do you hear that? Peace. Oh, look, Jesus Christ, he talked about his what is it? His yoke is not heavy. Oh, sugar. I'm not phrasing it. I can't remember the specific phrasing, but his way is his way of doing things is not heavy, and it's simple. It's hard because of our stubbornness. It's hard because of our fear. It's hard because we don't trust the new thing, the new way of doing it. Right? I was just as bad. I didn't trust it. I didn't trust that this is really what works. Especially because I couldn't wrap my head around it. What you fear, what you're struggling to understand, what seems so far away, that really is where peace is. And when you embrace it, when you understand it and you step into it, it's easier and simpler than you could possibly imagine. And I sound like a salesman, like, buy this car. It's more amazing than you can imagine. And the movie was more amazing than. Hear this. Hear this. When you step into what you're afraid of, letting go of what you're afraid of letting go of, it is simpler. It is simpler by a lot. It's hard due to our fear, due to our stubbornness, that can be hard, but that's where peace is. It's right in there. And if we let go of our stubbornness, if we let go of our fear, if we pursue that understanding and sometimes step into something that you do not fully understand, but do it anyways, because somebody who's been there before you understands it. He understands that journey. He understands where you are. And he's saying, look, do this. Even if you don't understand it, step into it. That person that's been there before you and has moved through that and gone on to great things. Like not just material things, but great things, are doing much, much better in life. Yeah, we do got to step into that. I mean, like for me, that was actually my brother-in-law. When he was trying to explain finances to me, I did not comprehend what he was talking about, and I tried. And I would even go to other people trying to understand, and it just led to even more confusion. If I had the bravery to push against the fear, and just do it as he said it. In fact, maybe get my brother-in-law to just walk just I almost want to say, like, do it for me. Like, okay, bro, I don't understand what you're saying. So let's do this together several times, a whole bunch of times, because my brother-in-law was actually willing to do that. And I don't understand what we're doing. I don't get it, but let's do it together. He actually would have done it. And so many people who are our mentors, who are our teachers, they're more than willing to do it with you so that you can learn. The shift to ownership and relief. When I realized ownership could make life lighter, not heavier, what did that feel like? Okay, so we got to understand that I didn't know how I was getting overweight. I didn't know how my finances were out of control. I didn't understand how my relationships were out of control. I didn't understand that. The first thing I needed to understand is that I am not a victim. I am not a victim. My body, my relationships, my finances, they are not outside of what I can control, what I can have influence over. And when I learned, look, first things first, buddy, you can have ownership of these things, and that is where you'll start on the journey of getting the results you're actually looking for. Does that make sense? If I'm waiting for the stars to align, if I'm waiting for the chemistry of my body to change, right? And I wasn't being stubborn, right? You're not stubborn. You're not trying to be stubborn. You're not a stubborn person, right? You're trying to do what's right. If we take that ownership, if we step into that, you will step into the journey of getting the results you actually want. Ownership means that I can affect this thing in my life that's causing me problems, or not even causing me problems. I mean, I owned my car, right? That's my car. And I'm going to treat it in such a way as I so desire to get the results from that car that I want. Maybe I want the car to last a long time. Maybe I want the car to take amazing corners. Maybe I want, go for a long trip, right? That's your car. And so if that car doesn't take you to Vancouver like you want to go to Vancouver, you want to go to Flagstaff, Arizona. Maybe that's where you want to go. You want to go to Flagstaff, Arizona. If that car does not take you there, that's on you. You can do something about that. as I get something off my screen here for a second. You and I have control over what's in our lives. And when it comes to obesity, finances, these kind of things, if your finances aren't where you want them to be, that's actually within our control. And sometimes we got to trust the GPS that's taking us on a path that we don't understand, and we would never take this path, and it makes no sense whatsoever. It makes absolutely no freaking sense whatsoever. But you know the GPS knows the way. And one day you will too. If we pay attention, we can know it too. So my obesity, my health, I decided to own that. It belongs to me. And I'm not going to, no one's taking that away from me ever again. Now, if my genetics come along and take it away from me, that's completely different. But I'm not going to allow the world to come along and tell me how healthy I can or cannot be. I'm not going to allow the world to dictate to me that because of my heritage, because of where I come from, what I look like, all that type of stuff, I'm only allowed a certain type of health. No damn way. I'm only allowed a certain type of finances. I'm only allowed a certain type of relationships. No. And health, in a lot of ways, that's that one thing that's like within your grasp. And I've been learning that if I own that, as I over repeat myself, but man, this matters. If I own that, then I can't be a victim of it. I can be a victim of myself. I can fix that. No one else is going to have control of that ever again. I'm going to have control of that. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. When I realized I could do less and get more, what was the first simple step I took? And how did it start restoring my peace? Oh, okay. When it comes to a lot of solutions that we seek out, or that we end up finding, I shouldn't say we seek out complication. It's not that. So much as we almost don't believe the things that are simple. If it's simple, it can't be true. It can't be that simple. No. It can't be that simple, right? That's how it feels. Well, I learned that what gave me the results that I did not like, what gave me those results is too many steps were put in place that caused me to need someone else, and a tremendous amount of discipline and inspiration and effort to get that result that I wanted. So when I realized, like, all I had to do was eliminate all the processed foods, all the fruit, all the vegetables, and all the processed foods. Get rid of the carbohydrates, get rid of the seed oils, and just eat fatty meat. That's it. Don't do anything else. In the sense of, like, getting all these complicated products in order to lose weight. No, just do this. All of a sudden, it created a peace, because I knew, now I know this is how it actually works. And when I do this, it's just going to work. I don't have to think about it anymore. I don't have to try and figure it out. I don't have to count. I don't have to measure the how much does the food weigh, and how many calories does it have, and was it manufactured right, and I got to spend tons of time in the kitchen. No, I didn't have to spend barely any time in the kitchen, and I didn't need to measure anything. It was eat until you're comfortably stuffed. Eat again when you're actually hungry. Learn how to listen to your body. You can actually do that. You can actually listen to your body. What were the first signs this new approach was working? Physically, mentally, or spiritually? I'm going with physically. I eliminated all the processed foods. I eliminated all the fruit. I eliminated all the vegetables. I lost 15 pounds and lost and eliminated back pain. I think it was with 3 weeks. In 3 weeks, I eliminated those things. Now, it's not because I'm so powerful or special. I mean, it's just literally how the body works. This is how the body works. If you feed the body fatty red meat, fatty meat, your body will just do this. Wait, really? It's that simple? And I did not fully comprehend all the mechanism within my body, but I understood the method. And I just stepped into it. I just stepped into it, and all of a sudden it's like, oh. I I got skinnier. It felt good. I wasn't interested in fitting in some kind of, nice looking clothes. That was not it. So much as I knew that being overweight was killing my health. I knew that. And, I'm approaching, I'm 50 now. And, 2 years ago I was 48. Well, actually, no, I guess that was 2.5 years ago. So I'd say 47. Yeah, that's the ages where heart attacks start happening, aneurysms start happening, strokes start happening, diabetes start happening. I mean, and I'm overweight. And I know that the food that I'm eating isn't the best. I mean, yeah. Did that ever bring relief? I actually was on the path. I was going down the right way. I didn't care that it was controversial and that, I was going to people were going to give me funny looks when they see what I eat. And, I was having to give up on my faith. Hold on a second. I gave up on the church that I was attending, that denomination. Totally had my faith. I believe in Jesus. He's cool. But not the church. I was like, okay, the church is clearly wrong in this area. And I mean, that was really upsetting. But it was outweighed by the level of success that I was having and the knowledge that I was getting. Fact-based, solid knowledge. When peace started showing up in my health, where else did it spill over? Whoa. It actually spilled over, into my mindset. It did spill over into my mindset. I realized that, well, one, I became brave. And ended my marriage that was terribly dysfunctional, terribly unhealthy. I let it go. You see, previous to this thinking, previous to my mind gaining some real strength, all I was trying to do is desperately please everybody around me, including in my marriage. I was desperate to please my wife. Please accept me. Please see me as okay. Please, have I done the right thing? Have I been good? Have I been good? A lot like a child. And when this landed, I realized that these other things that I had been learning about relationships and about what makes a healthy relationship and what makes a healthy man and those type of things, I realized, I've got to let go. Well, I let go of my church, right? I let go of that because that was unhealthy. It was not a good belief system, which then led me to let go of my marriage because it was just as unhealthy, just as broken, it wasn't functioning. And what this did is gave me more and more peace in more places. Right now, it's the finances. My finances now are paused. My finances are just paused. It's like I'm not getting any more into debts. Right now, I'm not making any money, but I'm also not getting into more debt as well. No more getting into debt. Or no more, how do I say this? Not any deeper debt. I'm not going to let myself get into deeper debt. And that's it. That's like, it was like, as I gained control of my body and as I gained control of my health, and I knew, oh, I can prevent diabetes. Oh, I can prevent fatty liver disease. I can prevent these things. Well, what if I could prevent? Well, you see, okay, I shouldn't say prevent. Okay, so I can prevent these issues, right? But the bigger deal is that I was actually getting healthy and taking control of these things and getting control of the health that I have to get the results in my health that I wanted. Well, then could I not get the same results if I took ownership of my marriage and more my relationships? And like, I want these kind of relationships. I want healthy relationships. Okay. I want healthy relationships now. I want healthy finances now. I want a healthy mindset now. Check it out, check it out, check it out, check it out. I do not allow myself to only consume politics and entertainment off of YouTube anymore. My entertainment is almost always YouTube, though there is a bit of anime mixed in there, but mostly YouTube. And for the longest time, I was really focusing on just politics, politics, politics. I was really depressed and really frustrated. And, because I was giving up on my church and I was having all those issues, it was like, wow, this really sucks. But then I started to learn that my mindset has as much to do with my obesity, my finances, my spiritual life, and all that kind of stuff as anything. And so I started to really consume Tony Robbins. Now, I'm laughing because, you see, I grew up among people who mocked Tony Robbins. Now, the Seventh-day Adventist Church, a lot of the members in there think that Tony Robbins is possessed by the devil and that he speaks from against God's word, basically. And so I believed it, right? Oh, man, have I started to take real ownership of what I believe and what I understand. And I started to consume Tony Robbins. I'm like, man, this guy's actually really flipping good. Or Nick Vujicic. I know I'm pronouncing his name wrong, and I do apologize to Nick. I wish I could get his name right, but I always forget the pronunciation. Nonetheless, it's this gentleman who has no legs, no arms, and is an inspirational, motivational speaker. Christian guy, preaches 9 yards, right? Started listening to him. Tony Robbins, Dan Martell, Ed Milet, Sean Cannell, Roberto Blake, Daryl Eves, Nick Nimmin. These guys all push positive thinking, positive attitudes. And when they get onto YouTube, though they have their opinions too, they're full of opinions on politics and religion and health, just like we all are. Because I took ownership of my mindset through seeing ownership of my health, and seeing ownership come through my religion, I then took ownership of my mindset. God is not responsible for my mindset. That's not God's responsibility. How fat I am, that's not God's responsibility. My finances and the condition the finances are in, that is not God's responsibility. I'm really emphasizing this because we really push to try and, God, rescue me from my dumb decisions. And you know what? I pray it too sometimes because I've made my dumb decisions. I really have. But no, it's not. It's like he can definitely guide us, strengthen us, help us find peace, those kind of things. But really is us. It's us that gives us our peace of mind, financial peace, health peace. Now, those who are going through some major health issues that they don't have control over, you can't control what you can't control, and you got to accept that. But you still can control your mindset. If we give over control everything to somebody else, everybody else, we then cannot control ourselves or cannot control to get the outcome that we want. And I want a peaceful mind. I don't even know what it's like to go through things like, cancer or Parkinson's or, these type of diseases. And no, I believe in prevention and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, I don't know what that's like. But your mindset is yours. You own that. And that belongs to you. And your relationship with Christ, once you turn your heart to Christ, it is you that chooses each day to nurture that relationship through prayer, through doing work for Him, through just acknowledging His existence in your life. Your walk with Christ does not have to necessarily look like everybody else's. Just like your walk in health doesn't necessarily look like everybody else's. But if you're acknowledging and you're pushing and you're trying and you're striving, yo, boss, that's exactly what is needed. At what point did I understand that ownership isn't a burden, it's freedom? This is huge. This is huge. Ownership is not a burden. It's freedom. I used to for the longest time, I never owned my cars. The car that I drove was not mine. I did not own it. Anything I wanted to do with that car, I had to ask permission. I had to ask permission. And what I wanted to do with the car, they were not interested in me doing with that car because the car belonged to them and they wanted it for something else. And so I could not do that which I desired to do. Then one day I was forced to own the car. Now there's conversation that I would have around that, but hear this. Once I owned that car, and I wanted to do a certain thing with the vehicle, well, it's mine. I can go ahead and do it. I don't need to ask anybody's permission. I can just go do it. Who are they to say they don't own it? I had freedom. I could go and, one of the things I love to do is go for a drive. I used to live in British Columbia, Canada, and in Vancouver. And one of my favorite things to do was to leave Vancouver first thing in the morning. First, I just love driving. I love driving. And I would leave Vancouver at like 4 o'clock in the morning, 4:30, and just hit the road. I had no destination. I wasn't trying to get anywhere. I just wanted to drive. And I got to drive to all kinds of different places, Kamloops, Penticton, Merritt. I'm trying to think of the names of the cities I went to far. I'd go for like 4 hours straight, just going. I don't know where I'm going, I'm just going. And I didn't care. I just wanted to go. Because I owned that car, I got to do that. I got to go for a drive and just go. It was so good. It was so good. Man, it beat video games. It beat anime. It beat just going for a walk, just going up onto the freeway, up onto the highway, and just driving those roads. Lord have mercy. Excuse me. I'm running out of water in my throat, and so I need to get something to drink. I have some lovely tea right here. I've been trying to change what I consume for fluids from pop over to tea. I like sweet. So I don't put real sweet in this. It is still fake sweet, but at least I get to enjoy some sweets. And I can't drink it very fast. This thermos is ridiculous how good it keeps temperature. Oh my goodness, the drink is still hot, and this drink is 2 hours old. Or no, it's actually moving on to 3.5 hours old, and it's still too hot to just drink it. I got to go very carefully. A little bit of wet on the whistle. Get in there. When we own, it's freedom. And so now, when you look at your health, let's go back to just being obese. When you take ownership of that, like that belongs to you. That's yours. It's not your mama's. It's not your daddy's. It's not the government's. It's not the health systems. It's yours. It belongs to you. And you're like, freak, I hate it. I don't like being fat. Good, it's yours. That means you can do something about it. You see, if it belongs to your genetics, your obesity cannot be changed by anybody else. Pardon me. If your obesity belongs to your genetics, it cannot be changed by you. You're stuck with it. You don't get to be skinny. You don't get to be healthy. Too bad. If it belongs to your mama and your daddy, well, it still does not belong to you. So if you want to be healthy and skinny and at a healthy weight, well, because it belongs to mama and daddy, you don't get to change that. If it belongs to the health system, if it belongs to the culture you grew up in, if it, pick it. If you give it away and say, it's not mine, it's God's going to make me skinny. It's God's responsibility to make me healthy. Well, that's not going to work. But if you own it, it's yours. You're going to take ownership of it. You're like, well, I didn't mean to get fat. I wasn't trying to get fat. Absolutely. Absolutely. You weren't doing something to make yourself this way. All it is that you were focusing on following what you were supposed to do, right? It wasn't you trying that way. But now you're going to own it. And you don't want to be overweight. All right. Now do what you need to not be overweight anymore. Because it's yours and it belongs to you, you do what you need to do. I wanted to go for drives. Now the car is mine. I put gas in that freaking tank, and I freaking got on the road, and I freaking went for a drive. And I wasn't asking anybody's daggum permission to go for that drive. You go where you want to go. Take a drive. Change your diet. I have learned that it's not the level of exercise that's the issue. It's what we are eating, not how much we're eating. It's what we are eating. Our bodies respond to different types of chemicals and compounds differently. So if I put carbohydrates in my body, my body's going to respond to that very differently to how my body would respond to fat, animal fat. If I put carbohydrates in my diet, in my body, or oxalates. Let's go with oxalates. If I put oxalates in my body's going to respond to that very differently to how my body would respond to protein. If I put water in my body, that, on and on and on. You haven't screwed up in how much you're eating. You're screwing up. Me too. We are screwing up in the what. Change your what, man. And you'll get those results. Take ownership of that obesity. Take ownership of your education. Take ownership of your finances. Take ownership. It belongs to you. You do that ownership, you don't have to be a victim anymore. Ain't no power, ain't no joy, ain't no honor in being a victim. Anybody we look up to, they overcame that victimhood. Amen. The results and revelation. What were the first physical changes that told you this new way was real? Now, I talked about that when I lost the weight and I lost back pain, that this was like, oh my goodness, this is working. I lost the weight and I lost the back pain. That let me know that it wasn't how much I was eating. It wasn't that I have bad genetics, that I have a bad heritage, I'm in the wrong culture. No, the problem was just what I was eating. That let me know that the problem with my finances is how I was using the money. Not so much that I needed more money, I just needed to use the money that I had properly. That my education, when I took ownership of my education, it wasn't that I didn't have enough education. It was the kind of education. What I eat, what I know, how I learned. That was the issue. This is real. I don't have to do it the way everybody else did it. Learn how my body works, learn how my mind works, learn how finances works, learn how my finances work. And then I can take control and ownership, and it belongs to me, and I can fight for and strive for those daggum results that I want, instead of striving and fighting for what everybody else is trying to get for themselves from me. Does that make sense? Like you know, when I don't want to say Weight Watchers, but you know, Herbalife, Weight Watchers, Amway, you pick these different things. What do they want? They want to be able to get you to buy their products. They want your money. And I've said this before in my live streams. I'm not against capitalism. I love capitalism. But any good thing can be totally abused. Oh man, there's a conversation to be had. Yeah, you any good thing can be abused. Anything. So I got distracted here. I'm going to have to figure out how to put my phone on airplane mode so I don't get phone calls in the middle of trying to say something and then I lose what I was trying to say. When I got these results, losing the weight, losing the back pain, losing the brain fog, losing significant body odor, all that kind of stuff, I realized this is real. And that it's not about how much, it's so much as what. That's right. I was talking about my education. I took control of my education. I took control. Well, I'm in a position now to start taking, to do a new path of finances. So yes, I'm taking control of finances. No more debt. I'm not doing debt ever. No. Well, but Rodney, you need a car. Rodney, you need to go to school. Rodney, pick it. Nope. No more debt. You know, oh my goodness, I was about to make a political statement, but I'm just going to leave it. I'm going to leave it because you're not here for politics. When we take ownership and we take control of the things that we can control and figuring out what we actually can control, like taking the time to actually figure that out and really learn it, yeah, you can then demand and force the results you want in your life. It's so cool. As my body healed, what shifts did I notice in my mind, focus, motivation, and how I saw myself? Now, I still struggle with these things, right? I still struggle with these things. I'm still very much on this journey, but one of the things that I noticed is that I did have better focus in my ADHD attention. So I struggle with ADHD. I've been diagnosed three times. I've been diagnosed 3 times. It's a real challenge. But I noticed that after 7 months of being on the diet, I noticed that I was able to hold on to my thoughts a lot better. So like the phone call came through, that still distracted me. And I was like, shoot, what was I saying exactly? And so I was a little lost, right? I was a little lost. But I don't lose focus nearly as bad as I used to. And I can see projects and ideas through a lot better than I used to. I still struggle with my emotions, and I still do struggle with my focus. It's not where I would like it, but it's better. It's a lot better. And I'm learning, because I'm now able to focus and my studying is a lot better, I'm learning that motivation is not what I should be striving for. I'm now learning that it's systems and habits. That's what I should be striving for. Systems and habits that will get me the results that I want. I don't need to constantly strive and chase after motivation, because that's an emotion, and depending on emotions does not bring value. Emotions are wonderful, like they're a good thing in their proper place. But now I know it's my habits. changing my diet, eating the proper way, or eating the way that I need to get the results that I want regularly, doing that as a routine, as a system, that'll give me these results that I want. And I now have been trying to build systems in my life, whether it's around YouTube or my sleep or my entertainment or my relationships. It's routines that build the results. I give the results. I get the results that we're after. And the goals then are achieved through the routines. And so my motivation, I'm needing less of it as I discover effective routines. And now what's happening is my motivation is being caused by the results instead of the results being dependent upon my motivation. Isn't that cool? Like, that's so cool. I don't need motivation. I need systems. I love it. What did my daily life begin to look like once things simplified? My mornings, my meals, my evenings. Now, I actually decided at a certain point to let go of the work schedule that I had. No more. And so what happened with my mornings? They got less stressful. I'm going to have a certain routine in my mornings, and I'm still trying to build a really effective, good morning. Like one of the things I've discovered is that my mornings, that's not where I'm the most creative or industrious. That's when I'm open to listening to education, listening to lectures and things like that. Like I'll listen to a 2-hour podcast in the morning, no problem. Middle of the afternoon, not so much. My mid-afternoon is when I'm the most creative and the most industrious. And then the evenings, that's when I'm done. I'm tired. And so that's when I get to engage in my relationships, engage in my hobbies, and engage in just defragging, de-stressing, just coming down. I've been up here, kind of working hard, working high, like at a high level, right? Mornings, I guess, get prepared for that high, work hard, put in the hours, and then down. No more 14-hour workdays. 14-hour workdays, unless that gets you like say $500,000 a month or $100,000 or $50,000. I'm trying to qualify this. Like if you're putting in 14-hour days and making $50,000 a year, you got to reassess, boss. You're making somebody else rich. You're making somebody else skinny. You're making somebody else have peace. You're making somebody else have a great relationship. Everything that you want is being ripped out of you and taken from you. Now, if you're building a business and you're starting out with 14-hour days to build to something greater and grander and more, yeah. Do your business, man. Do your grind. Do your work. But I would argue that can't be a lifestyle. Does that make sense? Simplify your life, simplifying your health, simplifying your education, simplifying your finances. Like, yeah, man, freaking debt and services and, purchasing things and all that kind of stuff. Just, it complicates your finances. Get your finances in focus. What are you trying to accomplish with your finances? And your finances should be supporting your life. So like my finances is about, I want to get skinny. I want to get healthy. So I'm going to focus my finances to making sure I have the right kind of food at the right amounts to get the freaking results I want. I want to take control of my education. So I'm going to use my finances to get my sorry butt educated. And I'm not talking necessarily going to university or going to college or any of those type of things. I mean, man, we've got the internet now. Put your money into getting educated on whatever you want through YouTube, through the internet. They've got all kinds of ways of getting educated that way. Study history, study philosophy, study theology. Use your finances to get the results you want. Don't use your finances just to get yourself a moment of gratification, a moment of feeling happy, of feeling peace or something like that. Let your finances help you build a life that will feed you peace, that will feed you gratification, that will feed you meaningfulness, fulfillment, peace, that kind of stuff. Like your life gives you this instead of you trying to, how do I say this? Like my life, like trying to build a life that's going to give you what you're looking for instead of playing catch up with your life, you know, and you're constantly giving your peace and giving your fulfillment and giving your education and giving your finances to everybody else. And you're merely a resource. You're not a resource. We are not resources. Oh, I hope that makes sense. Where else did freedom start showing up? And you know what? It really is it because I took ownership, right? I took ownership. And man, I'm at the beginning of this whole thing, right? I got my journey, man. I got my journey. But like, okay, no more am I tied down to a dysfunctional relationship. And I'm now educating myself and learning, and I'm taking ownership of the education so I can dedicate education into learning. Okay, I want to understand how to have a good relationship and how relationships actually work and what relationships are actually for and how they're supposed to function, all that kind of stuff. Getting those fundamentals. Well, the relationships got better. My finances are getting better. And I'm feeling purpose. I'm no longer needing to chase after everybody else's purpose. I've got my own. And it all began by just taking ownership of my health, taking ownership of my obesity, taking ownership of, like, I want to be healthy. I want to be there. That's what I want. Once I understood that it was possible, right? I understood, oh, it's possible. And I got to admit, the ability, the knowledge that my health, taking ownership of my health began, that journey, that knowledge began actually quite a few years earlier as I learned that happiness is a choice. It's not a condition, it's a choice. But it took me a long time to connect those things years later through education from amazing, wonderful, intelligent people that, yeah, happiness is a choice, but so is your finances, so is your health, so is your relationship, so is your relationship with God. These are all choices, and they are the result of choices. Oh, yeah. The faith and freedom lesson. When I look back at this whole journey, what do I believe God was teaching me? Not just about food, but about faith and truth. And you know what it is? Ownership. That God is in control. God is in charge of the world, of the universe. God's in charge of everything, right? It belongs to him. We belong to him. Whether we accept him or not, we belong to him. Life belongs to him. We're dependent on life, so we belong to God. But then after that, God gives us agency that we may have ownership over our lives under him. So he's in charge, right? So, hey, God, you want me to go left? Yep, not a problem. But otherwise, he's like, do your thing. Do your thing. So take ownership of that. You're the manager. It's your responsibility. It's my responsibility. Do I want to be healthy? Do I want a body that's not fat? Do I want finances that are good? Do I want an education that actually is beneficial to me? I need to own that. It's going to belong to me. Not because I want God out of my life or I'm trying to, push everybody out of my life. It's not that. It's just that as I tried to give to everybody, I was left empty because I'm not God. I don't have limitless life. So I needed to invest here. Where's my heart? There we go. I needed to invest here, right? So that I could invest there. I needed to give to this so I could have the results that I need so that I could give to others. I hope that makes sense. How did discovering the simplicity of real food change how I see God's design? That he made things simple, not complicated. And this is simple, right? Oh, I don't need apples and pineapples and grapes and lettuce and potatoes and yams and, right? Think about all the food there is in the world, right? I'm made of cholesterol, water, protein, calcium, trace elements, and some vitamins. That's what I'm made of. That's it. And if I want to feed my body what it needs to be at maximum health, all I need to do is find the sources of those things. I don't need carbohydrates. My body makes it. And I'm not made of carbohydrates. My body uses it. And since my body already makes carbohydrates, all the carbohydrates I'll ever need, I do not need to touch another carbohydrate in my entire life. I don't need it. Now, my body does produce cholesterol, but it seems that when I consume more cholesterol, my body produces less, and my body seems to really respond in a healthy way to that. It likes it. My body uses protein and it makes proteins and stuff like that. But when I give it protein, bioavailable protein, my body seems to do so much better. And that when I feed my body what it needs and I eat what I need to eat, I don't feel tired nearly as much. I don't get sick nearly as much. I don't have the foggy mind nearly as much. I don't have inflammation nearly as much. So go back to, I was saying like cholesterol, pardon me, carbohydrates, your body produces carbohydrates, so you don't need it. But then I said your body does produce cholesterol, yet your body needs it. Here's the difference. For some reason, the body produces all the carbohydrates you will ever need. So when we consume carbohydrates, all our body can do with it is store it as fat. It can't make anything that we need because all the fat we'll ever need comes from the protein that we consume. Notice I didn't say fat. Apparently, our body does not get fat when we eat fat, but when we eat enough calories, when we eat enough nutrition, our body will produce a certain amount of fat that our body does need. But when we eat carbohydrates, that causes excess carbohydrates in our body, which causes us to then have excess fat, more than what our body needs. It's really, really interesting. So that means that all I need to do is eat protein, animal fat, and water, and I will be healthy. And I'm learning that we do need, like, iodine and stuff like that. So it's healthy to, get fish in our diets and stuff like that. But we don't need much. And our cooking doesn't need to be super complicated. That means our finances, and I'm learning this principle works in our spiritual life, in our financial life, in our relationships. Simplicity. We're designed to be simple to maintain. And the most complicated parts of our lives really is our building and creating. That's where there's complication, but it's like a healthy kind of complication. And there is a complication between men and women that's healthy, but it doesn't need to be at the level of complication that we see in the world today. Like, there is actually an order to it, and it can be very, very simple. It's fantastic. Get rid of this thing off my screen that's distracting me. I took ownership of my health. What did it look like when I started taking ownership of my faith the same way? And I guess I've been saying this already within this live stream, but I'm not looking for God to make me faithful. I'm not looking for God to build the systems that I need to have a relationship with him. I'm not looking for God to blame him, to tell him that it's his fault that I don't have the faith that I need. It's not the church's fault. It's not my mother's fault or my dad's fault or society's fault. It's between God and I. And now, okay, so when I ate fatty red meat and water and no carbohydrates and seafood, I lost a lot of weight and I got a lot healthier. I wonder if I built a system within my faith that would give me the kind of results I'm looking for. Stands to reason. Stands to reason. Stands to reason. If someone watches, what did I write down here? If someone watching feels tired, confused, and spiritually empty, what would you tell them about peace? Oh, yeah, I said it already. I'm saying this again. Getting peace in your life is simpler than you think it is. And it usually is in the right things that you know you need to do that you're afraid of doing. Those things that you know you should do but don't fully understand. Peace is attainable in today's world. And it's attainable for you. It's attainable for me. It's attainable for everybody. We all can actually have it. And we can have it in a very real way. The Bible, Paul said that he's learned to be content in all things, in plenty and in want. Something like that. The idea being is that whether he has enough or he has too much and everything in between, he's content. And all of us, that's really what peace is that contentment. Content, peace, calm. We can have these things. We really, really can. And it is easier once you get it. And you get it through the ownership, and it's not as complicated. I really recommend learning what the body is made of, learning what the body needs, learning about systems. We never fall to our goals, we fall to our systems. What systems do you have in place in your life that are giving you the results that you're getting? Look at the ones you don't want. What systems are leading to those results that you don't want? What could you replace those systems with to get the results that you do want? Does that make sense? Yeah, I hope so. I wish you could respond. Now that I have found peace through ownership and truth, what's my message to those who still believe health and faith are too complicated? That is not. Now, I'm still very early in my journey. I'm still very early in my journey. I got a long ways to go still. But taking that ownership allows me to then get the skills, gain the knowledge, gain the habits that's going to get me the results I want. And you can too. Even discipline. I started building discipline in just simple ways. Go for what's simple. Go for what's easy and start there. Just start there. And just every day, don't compromise. Find the easiest place to put a good habit in, an easy, simple habit that's going to, give you the result you're looking for. And then just don't compromise on it. And then you're doing that habit, now pick a new one. And then don't compromise on it, and then pick a new one. And don't compromise, because a lot of our results that we get that we don't like, pardon me. A lot of the times when we fail at getting the results that we want, it's because we compromise on the habits that we had chosen. Whatever those habits are, choose them, embrace them, go for them. They're yours. Keep them. You can have good results. Just don't compromise. Well, I thank you for watching. May God bless you. May God guide you. May you have results that are meaningful to you, because you do not have to be sick. Let me show you another way. Bye for now.
Keep your head